We hear this term a lot, the third eye, right?
Mm-hmm.
Often just as like a metaphor for intuition.
Mm-hmm.
But what if it's, well, more than that? What if it's actually a real energetic pathway to, direct spiritual experience, a different way of seeing things?
Exactly. And that's really what we want to get into today, to explore what this third eye actually is according to our source.
Yeah, and how we might experientially awaken it, not just conceptually.
Right. And what happens then? How does it change our perception, our intuition, even our consciousness?
And we're grounding this in Samuel Sagan's Awakening the Third Eye. What I found interesting right away is how practical it is. It's all about experience.
Yes, he talks about developing these organs of energy, almost like building something new within us.
And the third eye is like a key one.
Yeah.
He contrasts this developed perception with something he calls, what was it? Blurry atavistic clairvoyance.
Yeah, basically moving from vague feelings to something much clearer, much more direct.
He also invites us, right at the start, to kind of put aside what we think we know, to approach it with fresh awareness.
Which is a great mindset, I think, letting the experience itself guide us rather than our preconceptions.
Okay, so let's dive in. What is this third eye, according to Sagan? It's not just the point between the eyebrows, is it?
No, not exactly. I mean, that area is definitely important. He calls it the main switch, and a source of protective energy, especially when you're starting out.
Okay, the main switch.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But the actual structure he describes is more like, well, he calls it a pipe or a tunnel. It extends energetically from that point between the eyebrows deep into the head towards the back.
A tunnel? Wow, okay.
All the way to the occipital bone area. And along this tunnel, there are apparently different energy centers.
Centers connecting to different levels of consciousness.
That's the idea, yeah. Different hubs linking to different kinds of awareness. But for the initial practices, the focus is very much on that spot between the eyebrows.
Got it. So starting point is between the brows. Even if the full structure is this deeper tunnel, how does he suggest we actually, start engaging with it to wake it up?
He lays out some very specific methods. The first one is called the first opening.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward, actually. You lie down, relax, then you create a gentle friction sound in your throat, kind of like a soft snore, but you're awake.
Throat friction.
And you put your awareness in your larynx, feeling that vibration. Then, the key step, shift your awareness to the point between your eyebrows.
While keeping the throat thing going.
Yeah, connect the two. He even suggests sometimes putting your palm like a few inches in front of your forehead, and you just notice any sensation. Could be vibration, tingling, maybe pressure, or just a feeling of density, something different there. The goal is linking the throat vibration to that eyebrow sensation.
Interesting. It's like using the throat to energize or draw attention there.
Yeah.
And then there's a more involved meditation.
Yes, the third eye meditation, it's more structured, broken down into phases, 5 phases, plus what he calls a non-technique at the end.
Okay, walk us through that. Phase 1.
Phase 1 is the larynx of energy. So eyes closed, you start that gentle throat friction breathing again, really focus on the vibration in the larynx. He mentions sitting upright can help enhance it.
So really tuning into that throat vibration first. What's next?
Phase 2. Vibration in the eye. Keep the throat friction going, but now you shift your main focus, your awareness, to that point between the eyebrows. Feel for vibration there, or again, maybe tingling, pressure, density, whatever you perceive.
Okay.
And you try to feel them connecting. The throat vibration and the eye vibration like they're linked.
Connecting the two centers. Got it. Phase 3.
Phase 3 is lighten the eye. Still doing the throat friction, gently look with your inner attention towards that space between the eyebrows. But now you're looking for any kind of non-physical light.
Non-physical light, like what?
It could be anything, really. A subtle fog, maybe a haze, a glow, perhaps colors, or sometimes people perceive a kind of purple-ish space. The key, he says, isn't to imagine it, but just be aware if it's there.
And connect that to the throat friction.
Exactly. Use the throat friction almost like fuel to amplify whatever light you perceive. He even mentioned something quite specific, the possibility of seeing tiny, shining particles entering the heart.
Wow. Okay, that's quite vivid. What's phase 4?
Phase 4, awareness in the space. You stay centered in the eye area, but shift attention from the light itself to the background. Often, this background is perceived as that purple or dark space.
So looking behind the light.
Kind of, yeah. Becoming aware of the backdrop. And this often brings a feeling of vastness, expanse. He says at this point, the throat friction can often be reduced or even stopped if it feels right.
A sense of space.
Yeah.
Sounds like shifting dimensions almost. And the last numbered phase.
Phase 5 is spinning in the space. From that awareness of space, you gently allow or initiate a sense of spinning, usually clockwise, moving forward like you're falling into a tunnel or being drawn into a vortex.
Spinning into the space.
Yeah, but gently, not forcing it, just allowing that sensation. He notes the quality of the space might change as you spin, and if needed, you can use the throat friction again to amplify the vortex feeling.
A vortex. That sounds intense. And after these 5 phases, the non-technique.
Right. This is about letting go completely. Drop awareness of the breath, the eye, the space, everything. You just become aware, sort of centered above your head, cultivating stillness, losing control, just being.
Just being aware. It seems like a core theme throughout is this just awareness, trusting your experience, not analyzing it too much.
Absolutely crucial. He really hammers this home. It's not about visualization, trying to make something happen. It's about being present to what is happening, what arises naturally.
And it's okay if it's subtle at first, like faint tingling or just a dim light.
Definitely. He stresses that any of those initial sensations, vibration, tingling, pressure, density, any hint of light, haze, colors, that purple space, they're all valid indicators that something is activating.
Okay.
He links the vibration more to the etheric level, the life force energy, and the light more to the astral level, but both are signs of engagement.
And persistence is key, even if it feels faint initially.
Absolutely. He actually quotes the Oxyrhynchus saying something like, "Those who seek don't stop until they find, and when they find, they'll be astonished." It emphasizes sticking with it.
So if we start doing these practices, how might this actually change things for us? Our perception, intuition, consciousness.
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. For perception, he talks about how keeping awareness in the third eye while you're just, looking at an ordinary object, it changes things.
How so?
You start to feel like you're looking from the third eye. It gives this deep sense of being centered, grounded in a different way.
Looking from the third eye. That's a cool idea.
And he mentions a kind of filtering effect, like sensory input processed through the third eye feels smooth and refined, whereas if it bypasses the third eye, it can feel more harsh, cacophonous was his word.
So it smooths out the edges of reality, in a way.
Kind of. It ties into this idea of stepping out of the mind to really see instead of just layering our usual mental commentary on everything.
Getting beyond interpretation.
Exactly. And he introduces this concept of seeingness.
Seeingness.
Yeah, like the pure act or quality of seeing itself, separate from whatever image you're looking at. His analogy is feeling warmth, which is separate from the fireplace or the sun causing it.
Ah, okay. Like the raw sensation of sight.
Right. And he describes a double process of vision. You maintain that stillness and awareness between the eyebrows, and simultaneously you're aware of this underlying seeingness, or just feeling the image.
That's subtle. It sounds like it requires a lot of presence. What about intuition? How does the third eye factor in there?
Well, he calls it the organ of subtle perception and intuition, point blank. Developing it makes you more sensitive to subtle energies, basically.
So you might pick up on things you wouldn't normally notice.
Exactly. And that includes sensing when maybe you need some psychic protection, becoming more aware of the energetic environment. It's about developing both sensitivity and a kind of inner vigilance.
Okay, so intuition and energetic awareness go hand in hand. And consciousness itself, how does that shift?
He presents the third eye almost like a control tower that exists beyond the ordinary thinking mind.
A control tower. I like that.
Yeah, it offers a way to manage mental activity. He notes that just having a strong vibration in the third eye tends to naturally quiet the mind chatter.
That alone sounds appealing.
Right. And he says with more development, you can learn to step completely out of the mind, consciously, at will.
Wow.
It leads to an expanded sense of consciousness, that deeper seeing. The seeingness acts as an ontological amplifier, he calls it, a way to tap into a more fundamental level of being.
Ontological amplifier.
Yeah. And he even mentions possibilities like transverbal communication emerging as perception deepens. It all ties into a process he refers to as inner alchemy.
Inner alchemy. Changing ourselves from the inside out. You mentioned subtle energy before, etheric energy. How central is that?
Very central. This idea of etheric energy or life force prana, it's deeply connected to the third eye.
Okay.
Sagan says that the vibration you feel in the third eye and also the vibrations you can feel during these channel release techniques he teaches, they're the same kind of energy.
The channel release.
Yeah.
What's that about?
It's another set of practices. Basically, you gently rub specific energy pathways, meridians, on the body.
Like in acupuncture.
Simile pathways, yeah. He names ones like heart constrictor, heart, lung, gallbladder, urinary bladder, stomach. Rubbing them helps to awaken and cleanse the energy body, helps you feel the flow.
What does it feel like?
Initially, often just a vibration along the line you're rubbing. With practice, you might feel it more as a distinct flow of vibration moving along the meridian.
So making the energy body more tangible.
Exactly. And this ties back to the third eye because the throat friction and the focus there can actually intensify this etheric flow. He also talks about eventually perceiving the whole etheric layer at once.
Like feeling your whole energy body.
Yeah, feeling that vibration all over and shifting your primary sense of self from the physical body to this etheric level. He even suggests you can explore that vibration extending beyond the physical body.
Exploring energy outside the body.
Yeah.
Okay. And inner vision. How does that develop alongside this?
Well, remember the light in the eye phase. Perceiving those non-physical lights is seen as a sign that the astral aspect of the third eye is activating.
Astral aspect, okay.
And that purple light or dark space often perceived as the background. He relates that directly to astral space.
So the third eye is a bridge to these other dimensions, potentially.
That seems to be the implication. He also mentions practical things, like how just reducing external light, being in darkness, can help make this inner vision clearer.
Makes sense. Less external noise.
Right. And interestingly, he talks about mirrors potentially reflecting more than just the physical, the aura, other subtle stuff.
Huh. So the goal isn't just seeing, like, random images.
No, he's very clear on that. It's not about aiming for what he calls lower astral clairvoyance, which can be confusing or misleading. The real aim is vision of truth, or vision of the self.
Something beyond the mind's usual limits.
Exactly, a perception that transcends mental interpretation.
Now, you mentioned Sagan's unique clairvoyant techniques. Are there specific things in his approach that really stand out as unique?
Well, it's perhaps less about specific name techniques being totally unique inventions and more about his systematic approach. It's very step-by-step.
A methodical buildup.
Yes, and the way he integrates that throat friction with the third eye awareness is really a core recurring element throughout. It's fundamental to his method.
The throat-eye connection.
Right, and the clear progression. First, feel the vibration, then perceive light, then engage with the space. It feels very structured for developing inner vision. Also, his specific eye contact practices, focusing not just with the physical eyes, but with that seeingness, sometimes bringing the heart into it too. That feels like a distinct way of developing perception beyond just looking.
Going deeper than just sight.
And he does have some more, let's say, advanced or specific exercises like the Atlantean climax one you mentioned.
Yeah.
It's about using intense stillness and vibration to explore past states of consciousness, though he cautions it's not for everyday practice.
So a very structured experiential system overall.
Definitely.
Wow, there's really a lot here. I mean, this idea of spiritual regeneration through doing something, through direct experience, not just believing.
It's empowering, isn't it?
Yeah, and seeing the third eye, not just as a symbol, but as this tangible, energetic organ you can actually develop.
And the fact that there are concrete exercises provided, listeners could actually try these initial steps themselves.
Right. And that distinction between different kinds of inner vision, the pitfalls to avoid, that seems important too.
Very. Plus, the throat connection, the strengthening of the aura, perceiving subtle energy flows, it paints a rich picture.
And those glimpses into potentially altered states like the spinning, plus the constant reminder, trust your own experience.
Absolutely. It's all woven together.
Okay, so pulling this together for today, we've really explored the third eye as this, well, real energetic center.
Beyond just the symbol.
We talked about some practical starting points, that throat friction, the awareness between the brows, looking for vibration, then light, then space.
The foundational steps.
Yeah, and we touched on how activating it could genuinely reshape perception, boost intuition, and even shift our fundamental state of consciousness.
And it really is just scratching the surface. The book goes much deeper into things like psychic protection, tuning into energies, night practices, lots more layers.
For sure. So maybe an invitation to you, the listener. Consider trying some of these initial steps. See what happens. Observe with that fresh awareness Sagan talks about.
Which leads us to maybe a final thought to ponder. What would shift in your understanding of reality if you actually started perceiving things beyond the usual five senses?
Yeah. What new insights, what intuitions might bubble up if you begin to explore this inner dimension more consciously?
It's definitely something to think about.
An open door, really.
Yeah.
And as always, the deep dive continues.